bronze sculptures that I'm creating can cover 1 to 6 kilometres. I've got a vision to create many of these sites around the world. They will all involve heritage and history and looking forward. So far, we've worked in Israel, Bolivia and Sri Lanka, and this time we're working in Australia.
Melbourne is home to Australian sculptor Andrew Rogers. Located on the banks of the Yarra River, it's the exciting capital of Victoria. Following the gold rushes of the 1800s, Melbourne became a hedonistic boom town where money was spent on elegant buildings and wide boulevards. A showcase for colonial optimism and sophistication. It's now also known as a thriving artistic centre, a city where art is part of the landscape. Andrew's sculptural works are part of that landscape. Here in Australia, Andrew has been invited to create 2 geoglyphs. One will be his signature piece, based on his earlier bronze work, The Rhythms of Life.
The Rhythms of Life is from a bronze sculpture that I created many years ago, and the whole series of bronze sculptures I did at that time have the title The Rhythms of Life. It's basically an optimistic symbol about regeneration of life, looking at the influences on our lives and where we've come from and where we're going.
The theme of the second work comes from the cultural history of the Kulin nation, the Indigenous people of central Victoria. To them, Bunjil, the Wedge-Tailed Eagle, was a guardian spirit and lawmaker.
The work I do now is fairly large scale. So they all start life as an idea, and from an idea they graduate to a small form, and from there they can go to any size form.
The 2 geoglyphs will be constructed 150 kilometres from Melbourne, at Geelong on Port Phillip Bay and in the Yuyang Regional Park. Geoglyphs are massive land artworks.
The land sculptures that I'm doing can cover up to 1.5 to 2 kilometres. Okay.
Not only will this land artwork be huge, but each rock used will be enormous. It's a big challenge.
This is the form, and the point we're standing on is just here. What we'll do is we'll be laying the rocks where you see this outline here, and we'll be leaving a gap between them of at least 600, which makes access easy. And we're going to get this work done and finished by the 24th of this month. So we've got to make sure the work's really good. Each rock will be between about 600 kilos and 1 tonne. So you happy with what you're getting? This is what you want, right? And that's a bit too big. That's okay because it's about the right depth. Yep. So what we're trying to do is keep a fairly constant depth.
That's the same, yeah. Yep. So more matching.
Yeah, so they all match in.
It will be built from slabs and boulders of local limestone, so large that heavy machinery is necessary to move them around.
You can see the layering of the soil, and then you see the white limestones. And hard limestone's almost as hard as marble. So it'll be a beautiful material to work with because it won't deteriorate. The limestone's really beautiful. We want the outside of this line, for argument's sake, to be perfect. What we're on about here is placing the rock in the correct position. Okay. And you can't see from up there, stand behind me, and you can see where we've positioned that rock. Okay, at least line of resistance easy. We've got 4 students here that come from the City of Melbourne. 3 are architecture students and 1's a maths student. So they're going to help us supervise the drivers of the heavy mechanical equipment. They'll be using the walkie-talkies and making sure that the rocks are put in the right place. When I use a mechanical machine, it's not normally how it was designed to be used, and it's not normally how the operators would use it. I try and use them as extensions of my hands, so I get them to perform very fine motor actions that they're not designed to do, but that's part of the challenge. Working on this site's all about communication. You've got people inside big machines that can't see what you're doing, so you're their eyes and ears. So now we take this.
I said it so many times, I'll say it again. He's very enthusiastic about his work. He's very passionate. You can see it every single minute of the time. He really enjoys it, and it's catching.
Don't use unstable ones down here.
I'm not doing this.
Yeah, so you'll take them around the other side.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Well, I know it won't be stable enough. It won't be stable, is it?
My creative involvement will be through the logistic process. I'm not involved in the design of the sculpture. This is entirely Andrew's ideas. His job is not to worry, and my job is to worry for the both of us.
Golan Levy, an Israeli architect, has worked with Andrew on many previous projects in different parts of the world. Andrew has built the rhythms of life in an extraordinary range of sites, each with their own challenges. From the driest desert on Earth, the Atacama Desert in Chile, to central Sri Lanka during a monsoon. Or to Bolivia at 14,300 feet, where oxygen is scarce and leaves you gasping for breath.
Of the circle.
Okay.
And below it's even higher. If you can see, we have already 1 meter, 1 meter 20.
Okay.
No problema.
Yeah,
Wherever you want to take from.
yeah.
Golan has had to learn to work with teams of hundreds of workers, communicating in many languages.
We go to the end, okay?
Because it's too big a job, you won't get the machine in. I don't want to bring the big...
This time, the challenge will be different. He'll be working with machinery and their drivers.
That's it. Perfect.
I enjoy stone. It's part of Mother Earth, part of civilization. It's really taking something that exists and creating something new from the old. Why can't we get the 3 machines working on it? Because otherwise you won't get finished. Yeah.
Okay, you wanted the cleaning up first,
Yeah,
right?
which you should be finished by lunchtime. What's really good always on these projects is if everything happens how it should. There's been a lot of administration and municipal paperwork to cope with and lots of permissions to achieve. So those all came together okay.
The city of Geelong has been very supportive of Andrew's work. Andrew's family had migrated here from Europe, prospered and contributed much to this city. His work has been given pride of place across the bay from their new marina and harbour precinct. These stately wharves once stood at the centre of Victoria's 1800s gold and wool bonanza. Ships lined up here to transport this valuable cargo to the world. These days, Geelong welcomes the world's tourists who come through this historic city on their way to the legendary Great Ocean Road, with its spectacular coastline where nature has created her own stone artworks.
The thing I like about this site is I've never built next to the ocean, so it's great to have that affinity with the ocean. And what's wonderful, when you look at these rocks, you can see seashells in it, and you know that about 15 million years ago, this was covered by the ocean where these rocks have come from.
The site is nearing completion as the last monolith arrives.
We're going to get it finished. That's exciting. No, it's got to sit exactly pointing at the yu-yang. So that the rock is it faces the top peak of the yu-yangs. A marvellous outcrop of mountains. That's where I'm going to build the next geoglyph. Big, beautiful piece of nature, and it's 15 million years old. Size creates its own elements in terms of scale and beauty. The rhythms of life, it's basically an optimistic symbol about regeneration of life and looking at the influences on our lives and where we've come from and where we're going. It's no more than being a fulcrum for contemplation about lots of aspects of life and history and heritage. All my work is about keeping the stories alive.
The original bronzes of the Rhythm of Life were made at this foundry in inner city Melbourne.
This is one of the new sorts of works, very smooth finish. Yeah. I'm meeting Zalman today, who commissioned me to create a memorial at the Springvale Cemetery in Melbourne. So this is it.
Now, Andrew, this we decided to do in the memory of the 100,000 Jews killed in Babi Yar, Kiev.
So that's how many members of the family?
Over 200.
Over 200.
And all in Babi Yar.
Yeah.
And when I arrived in 1945, we stopped next to a little house, and a lady walked out, and she said to me, "And now you? I saw when the Germans took your father, mother, and two sisters, they shot them and threw them in the yard, in the folders."
In the ravine.
In the ravine, yeah.
Yeah.
This is the reason why I decided now, maybe it's too late, but it's never too late.
It's never too late to remember what's gone
exactly,
before
I decided
and to
do this
learn from it.
monument, yeah.
Yep. What we're looking at here is wax. Wherever you see the wax and the thickness of the wax is exactly going to be what's in metal. And this is to represent the ravine, and people will have to lean over to look into the blackness. They will not see anything except blackness. And that's what I want them to think about, because without memory, we're nothing.
Yeah, I know.
And we need to learn from history.
Exactly.
I'm heading to my second site to work with the Wathaurong people to keep one of their important stories alive. I want to find something that the people of the area can connect with, that reaches back into their history and heritage. Jida, what do you think represents the mythology of the Indigenous people in this area?
This would be Bunjil.
What's Bunjil?
Bunjil is a big eagle. He created this land. Yeah? Right before anyone did walk here. That's Bunjil, because he's in the rock and he's in the tree.
Yeah.
It's in the animals, it's in the water, and he's in me and you.
Yeah. So, Jida, if we take these beautiful granite boulders and we build this beautiful eagle with, say, a 100-metre wingspan, when the people of the area see it, do you think it will have any linkage or remind them to the past?
I think that the story will bring us together, right? To understand what this story has done for our people in the past, right? To bring us up to today and to carry us on into the future. That's the biggest story there.
Andrew goes to look for a suitable site to build Bunjil the Wedge-Tailed Eagle.
So you'll be saying your northern boundary will be right along the edge of the road.
Yep. And we'll use some of those boulders that are there naturally occurring, because that's already disturbed land, and we'll use them as features to create the work. The most difficult thing was to draw out what the Wathaurong wanted in terms of imagery to connect them with their heritage. From that point, when they said they wanted Bunjil, the Wedge-Tailed Eagle, which was part of their mythology, we looked around till we found an eagle. And then I measured it very, very precisely. And we're going to reproduce that on the ground in three-dimensional form, taking into account their ideas. I like to work from drawings as opposed to mechanically generated lines, because it allows you a lot of freedom in interpretation.
Traditional Aboriginal images of Bunjil the eagle were lost to history when the local tribes were nearly wiped out by settlers and sheep farmers. But the story still lives on, strong, with the people of the Kulin nation, and is still central to their identity.
Bunjil the eagle was the creator for Victoria, And we are part of that creation story because we are the children of our ancestors, and our ancestors are the children of our spirit creators.
This site is an old sand mine. All we did was take away mainly weeds and basic regrowth that nobody wanted, and it would have had to have been cleaned up one day anyway.
Say we should do the big ones over there so it will be symmetrical.
All right.
So I'm stopping him here. We'll do the big ones on the other side.
No, you may as well keep going. Do what you're going to do here. When you finish, do all the feathers on this wing.
I will.
And then you can go over with take as many big ones as you can over
I'll do the big one first.
Oh, yeah, you want to?
Yeah.
He's here, though, so don't make him travel. Finish.
Yeah, but they're waiting.
Oh, okay.
The buckets.
All right.
Golan begins to assemble the wings with the front end loaders, while Andrew creates the head with the crane.
And I'll stay here with you. No, straight up as it is.
Straight up as it is.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah, so this will be on the inside, right? You've got a bird's head here, yep. So this curve will be like this. If my back's the curve of the rock, yep, and this flat face is in the in face. Hello? Yes. Hi, Kevin. I'll call you back in 2 seconds. I'm just positioning a big rock. Okay. Working with mechanical equipment takes a lot more effort to get the precision that you require because they can't manipulate like a human hand. I was trying to build a head that when anybody walked around it, it looked like a real head, and when you were above it, it looked like a real head. So when you're up in the air, it looks like a perfect replica of a wedge-tailed eagle's head. And because you want it to be seen from the air, it has to be absolutely precise and follow proper lines. Okay, see how careful I was along there? Okay, we'll correct every one of them. I don't want anyone that's not in sequence. I'd put that big one 3 from where they're sitting. 1, 2, 3. And I'd move that down there, yeah?
No, but this one has a high,
No.
high face to the right. Where Tal is standing?
No, move it. 1, 2, 3. You swap them over. Okay, well, what I was doing was standing at the rear tail feather and looking at the symmetry of the wings. So we have to swap some of the rocks over because they're bigger on one wing than the other. It's absolutely spot on. The eagle consists of about 900 stones, and some of them weigh up to 12 tonnes, so they're very, very heavy. There's probably, I would say, 1,200 tonnes of granite rock there. The eagle's almost flying. It looks great. It stands out against the terrain. And it's a beautiful bird, and the Wadawurrung like it.
By the time you leave this place, you'll have some form of insight into what our culture is about. Hope you've enjoyed the dance. That's our future generation. Let's look after them, bring them up. Thank you.
Now that the work is finally completed, Andrew takes stock.
And we were very careful not to scrape and scratch them so that they still had their natural lichens and moss on, so that they still fit in with the environment. We made sure that when we position them in terms of size and scale, that they didn't destroy the contours, that it all fitted in. So as you walk up the slope, the form is in line with the slope and the rocks are harmonious with the surroundings.
Andrew's attention to detail has paid off. The eagle's symmetry is complete. The stones graduate in size towards the wingtips. Andrew believes his work is best seen from the air, but it is still very intriguing at ground level.
Oh, this is to do with Aboriginal mythology.
Oh, really?
It's part of the creation.
Certainly contributed significantly to making a lot of our visitors far more aware that there is an Indigenous cultural connection to the park, the inherent values that the park has. Once they understand the significance of the site, they come here for reflection and allows them to appreciate the site just that little bit more.
I think about this work called The Rhythms of Life, which for me is an optimistic symbol about life and regeneration. What we have here is a rock carving of Bunjil, the Wedge-Tailed Eagle, pointing towards the Yuyangs. And I hope that this will become a fulcrum for contemplation. This isn't massive. This is only a speck in space, and it is actually humbling. You realise how insignificant what you're doing is. All of these sites are about history and about memory, about future history, because without memory, we're nothing.